And if the signs you have been ignoring were, in fact, sacred messages, have you ever stopped to think about why certain things happen with eerie precision? I'm not talking about simple luck, but that unexpected call, the number that keeps appearing before your eyes, the stranger who shows up with the exact answer just when you were about to give up. This is not by chance. Many call it a coincidence. Others laugh, as if it were superstition. But in forgotten spiritual traditions, this has a name: signs of the living consciousness of the universe. From a very young age, we were taught to ignore the invisible. When we were children, we noticed subtle movements. We knew when something was about to happen. We felt when someone was thinking about us. We saw patterns repeating as if reality were breathing. But over time, we were conditioned to call this imagination. Modern society has trained us to silence that inner listening. The educational system, Cartesian science, the rush of everyday life, all have distanced us from what ancient peoples called the language of the heavens. No textbook explained how to interpret synchronicities. No teacher has taught the value of a sacred coincidence. No modern statistics recognize that many ancestral sages predicted their paths from omens and symbols. The question is, why was this deleted? In this video, we will open a crack in this veil, not with empty theories, but with what pulses behind the visible, the intelligence that governs the cosmos, and which might be trying to speak to you right now. Most people will never hear it, but you made it this far. And maybe this is not by chance either. The silencing of the soul since childhood. You weren't born blind to the signs. When we were still small, we knew. Even before understanding words, something in us recognized when events seemed to dance in harmony, like when we thought of someone, and that person appeared. Like when we saw an animal cross our path, and instinctively knew that it was more than just a casual encounter. This state of connection, which in many traditions is called inner vision, or subtle listening, was natural. But then came the school years. The fixed schedules came, the standardized tests, the correct answers. The lessons came that said, only what can be measured is real. Only what is in the books is reliable. Spirituality has turned into superstition. Intuition has been reduced to daydreaming. And the most serious part, no one told us what we were losing. Few remember that. Until the 17th century, in various parts of the world, education included astrology, symbolic reading, meditation, and ritualistic practices for the expansion of consciousness. Today, these practices have disappeared from the curriculum or have been relegated to folklore and naive mysticism. You were taken away from yourself without realizing it. Every time someone said, "That's just a coincidence," an internal portal was closed. Every time you doubted your feeling, a bridge to the invisible faded away. Instead of trusting your perception, you were taught to obey structures that value only what can be repeated in a laboratory. But the signs remain there, patient, waiting for your return. What they didn't tell you is that this supposed rational education was not neutral. It was part of a much larger system, one that needs to keep people disconnected from their own inner compass. The conflict between material logic and invisible truth science, we know today, was not always like it is. Before being cast in formulas and mechanical repetitions, it was born from spiritual questions. The first astronomers looked to the sky in search of divine messages. The alchemists sought the essence of the soul in the reactions of matter. The masters of the ancient mystery schools studied the rhythms of the cosmos as a reflection of the universal mind. But at some point, the bridge was broken. Spirituality was removed from the equation. The invisible became undesirable, and reality came to be described as a set of cold gears, soulless, purposeless, and without consciousness. That's when synchronicities began to be treated as errors, as distortion, like a failure in human perception. You're only seeing what you want to see, they say. But is it really? Why do the same signs appear insistently just when we need clarity the most? Why do certain coincidences change entire destinies? And the strangest thing, why do these events multiply when we are emotionally open, spiritually, or energetically elevated? The rational model does not respond. The scientists who dared to explore these issues were mostly marginalized. Carl Jung was ridiculed for talking about the collective mind. Rupert Sheldrake was attacked for suggesting that there is a universal memory. Even Einstein, when discussing spooky action at a distance, knew there was something more, something that transcended time, space, and logic. But the public has never heard these voices in full. They were muffled. Meanwhile, spiritual traditions from Tibetan lamas to Amazonian shamans have always known, when everything seems perfectly aligned to be mere chance, it's because it isn't chance. These are moments when the visible world fails to hide the invisible. They are windows through which the sacred breathes. Reality responds to Whatu Manati Vrithing vibrates. This is a truth repeated for millennia in the spiritual traditions of the entire world, from Hinduism to the Hermetic teachings of ancient Egypt. And now, even modern physics is beginning to whisper the same thing in its latest discoveries. But what does this have to do with synchronicities? Everything. The reality you see out there is not separate from who you are inside. Your thoughts, emotions, desires, and fears are not just internal experiences. They are frequencies. Each thought generates a vibration. Each emotion, a wave. And these vibrations echo in the invisible field that permeates all things. This field, which some call Akasha, others spirit, or simply consciousness, responds. You think of scarcity, and life shows limitations. You vibrate gratitude, and the doors open. Synchronicities are not random rewards. They are subtle reflections of vibrational alignment. They appear as confirmation that you are in harmony with something greater, with the hidden rhythm that weaves reality. Maybe that's why the signs become clearer during moments of deep pain or important transitions. In these phases, you are vulnerable, but also more permeable. The armor of rational control falls away, and you begin to perceive what has always been there. The dance between your vibration and the universe's response. But almost no one teaches us that. Most people live believing that life is made up of chance, probabilities, and blind logic. And that's why, when a sign appears, when a number repeats, when a song brings a message, when someone comes up with an answer you didn't even know you needed, many ignore it. They move on, and the universe falls silent. What few people understand is that the more you notice the signs, the more they increase. Because reality is alive, and it listens. The system doesn't want you to realize. Imagine what would happen if everyone started to listen to their intuition clearly. If each individual began to follow signs instead of commands. If the paths were guided by consciousness and not by conditioning. The world as we know it would crumble. That's why it's no coincidence that you have never learned about synchronicities. It's no coincidence that no one taught you to observe invisible patterns, recognize numerical repetitions, or interpret dreams as messages. It was intentional. The disconnection is part of the project. The modern system, this one you call reality, was designed to keep attention focused outward. Everything is designed for you to trust more in what comes from above than in what comes from within. Prefer specialists to signs. Prefer rules over sensations. Prefer data to experiences, because if you trusted what you feel, you would stop being controllable. When a person starts to follow their intuition, they break a cycle. She starts to say no where she used to say yes. She changes direction, abandons safe paths, renounces what does not resonate with her essence. And that is dangerous for a system that feeds on predictability. You cannot be free if you are awake. That's why those who talk about synchronicities are still treated as naive or too esoteric. The word spirituality has been emptied of meaning, associated with escapism, irrationality, baseless mysticism. But in the subtext of the world, the signs keep appearing, and those who dare to listen find their way again. The true awakening is not made of great explosions, but of small moments of lucidity, a glance that crosses paths, a number that repeats, a message that appears exactly when doubt was pressing. These are the breaking points of the matrix. The veil doesn't fall all at once. It tears slowly, and each synchronicity is a thread pulled The hidden language the universe uses to talk to you. There are words that are not spoken with the mouth. There are messages that do not come by voice, but by symbol. Synchronicities are exactly that. A secret language between you and the invisible. A subtle dialogue that occurs beyond the rational mind. A constant exchange between your consciousness and that which pulses behind the veil of the physical world. And the most fascinating part, they appear to everyone, but not everyone notices them. Some come as repeating numbers. You look at the clock and there it is. 11:11, 22:22, 3:33. At first, it seems like a coincidence. But when these patterns become constant and appear exactly at moments of greatest doubt or decision-making, you begin to understand. This is not coincidence. Others reveal themselves as phrases or songs that echo exactly what you were thinking, as if someone were reading your soul. Sometimes they are symbols: a butterfly that appears when you think of transformation, an animal that crosses your path right after a silent request, a phrase that repeats in different places on the same day. There are those who think they are illusions of the mind, but the ancients called it responses of the spirit. For some, it is the higher self manifesting. For others, it is the universal consciousness using the world as a means of communication. There are still those who believe that they are spiritual guides whispering directions through the material reality. Maybe all of this is true at the same time. The important thing is not the origin, but the invitation that synchronicity represents. Pay attention. Align yourself. The universe is trying to show you something that your eyes alone cannot see. You can choose to ignore. You can say, it's just a coincidence, and follow the old path. Or you can be silent, take a deep breath, and ask, what does this want to show me? Because when you treat a sign as sacred, it transforms into direction. And when you start to follow this language, life stops being a labyrinth and begins to reveal itself like a map. Your subconscious mind is the antenna between worlds. There is a part of you that listens, even when you are not paying attention. While the conscious mind occupies itself with lists, deadlines, and daily worries, there is another layer within you, deep, silent, intuitive, that continues to receive information all the time. This layer is the subconscious, but the ancients knew it is more than a repository of memories or a reflection of the past. The subconscious is a bridge, a channel between the material plane and the subtle planes. He perceives what the eyes do not see, feels before something happens, connects pieces that reason has not yet realized exist. He is the one who receives the symbolic messages. He is the one who recognizes a pattern before his mind comprehends. It is he who organizes the encounters, the coincidences, the movements that seem magical but are merely the reflection of a deeper internal dialogue. You desire something. Even without verbalizing, your subconscious feels this desire, this intention vibrating, and then, almost like a hidden master, it begins to shape paths, bring signs closer, activate encounters, organize repetitions. It's not a coincidence. It's unconscious alignment. And when you start to trust, to listen to these signs, your subconscious understands that you are ready. The frequency adjusts, the signals increase, the flow intensifies. But here's a truth that few say: if you doubt, hesitate, or ignore these calls, the channel closes. The universe keeps speaking, but you stop listening. And then, life goes back to automatic mode. The meetings become just faces, the numbers, just hours, the coincidences, just luck. That's why those who live in a state of synchronicity are not luckier. They are more attentive. They train their inner listening. They allow the subconscious to become their guide. And with time, what seemed like magic becomes natural. Recognition is the beginning. Action is the rite. You might see a repeated number and think, curious, or you might see the same number repeated for days, weeks, and understand, someone is talking to me. The difference lies in listening. Synchronicities do not shout. They whisper. They arrive disguised as chance, coincidence, details, but behind them, there is an invitation, a code, a warning, a direction. But how to decipher? The answer is not in a manual, nor in formulas. It's in you, in your sensitivity, in your presence, in your willingness to observe without haste. Here is the secret. When a signal arises, stop, breathe. Ask yourself, what was I feeling when this happened? What was the doubt you carried? Does this message confirm something or propose a new path? How many times has this symbol appeared? Is a pattern forming? These questions do not have immediate answers. They create space for spiritual intelligence to move through you. Keep a notebook, a diary just for that. Record dates, words, sounds, numbers, encounters. Over time, the pieces of the puzzle fit together. The symbols become sentences, the signs, maps, and then comes the hardest part, taking action. Because many perceive, few obey. They see the number, hear the music, feel the call, but hesitate. They doubt. They wait for more evidence. They want guarantees before taking the step. But the signs were not made for comfort. They were made for the leap. Synchronicity is like an ajar door. It doesn't force. She just invites. It's up to you to cross or not. And when you cross over, something happens. The universe responds. It adjusts. He reorganizes, as if to say, "Ow, we're really listening to each other." Life doesn't need to be a labyrinth, but it will never cease to be a mystery, and the signs are the stars that light the way in the dark. How to call the signs. The art of co-creating with the invisiblesse inconscient are not whims of fate. They don't fall from the sky by luck or chance. They are like echoes, responses to a call that, many times, you didn't even realize you made. But there is a secret that few tell. It is possible to intensify this dialogue. It is possible to live a life where signs appear as constant compasses, where reality begins to conspire not against, but in favor of your inner flow. How? It starts with intention. It's not enough to want more signs. It is necessary to have vibrational clarity. Declare to the universe, in a low voice or firm thought, "Show me if I am on the right path. Bring me a symbol that confirms my choice. Reveal the next step to me with ease." But don't ask expecting the answer to come in a straight line. It may appear in dreams, in casual conversations, in images, or repetitions. The universe does not speak the language of words. It speaks through synchronicity. After intention comes alignment. If your frequency is taken over by fear, doubt, haste, or the need for control, you create interference. The message comes, but you don't catch it. It's like trying to listen to a soft song amidst the noise of a bustling city. Therefore, cultivating states of presence, silence, and gratitude is essential. The more you quiet yourself inside, the more the outside world reveals itself clearly. And finally, action. This is the part that separates those who live on the surface from those who navigate the depths. Seeing the sign and not acting is like finding the door open and not entering. Synchronicity is only complete when you respond. She says, "Trust." You respond, "I trust." She shows, "Go this way." You take the step, and then the path opens up. That's what the ancient sages knew, that the universe does not reward waiting, but aligned movement. With each gesture of trust, new signs emerge. With each true step, more clarity arrives. Synchronicities are mirrors, but they are also steps, and the more you walk with them, the closer you get to the life your soul chose even before being born. The end of chance, the beginning of listening. Know you know. The synchronicities were not coincidences. They never were. And maybe you have felt this all along. An old, silent memory, whispering that there was more to the world than what they told you. Now, that whisper has turned into a voice. A voice that does not come from outside, but from within. From the part of you that always knew how to listen. You are not lost. You are not disconnected. You were just taught to forget. But the signs remain there, patient, as if they expected that, one day, you would see them again. And you saw. Now, what will you do with this? Some will hear all this and carry on as before. They will return to the noise, to the control, for logic. They will continue waiting for more evidence, more certainties. More guarantees, and the signs, little by little, will cease to appear, not as punishment, but through disuse. But others will feel something opening up, like an old flame reigniting. Those won't wait. They will observe. They will write. They will follow. They will remember that there is a greater intelligence, speaking all the time, and that it does not demand blind devotion or passive faith. It only asks for attention. And when you respond with presence, the world responds with synchronicity. When you walk with courage, reality shapes itself with purpose. The question now is no longer, is this real? The question is, what are you going to do with what you felt here? Because the signs will continue, but it is up to you to turn them into a path. They show the door, but only you can cross it.